Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into Milt A Blueprint for Recovery, which is this really powerful book written from the inside out. We're going to try and understand what schizophrenia actually feels like and how that understanding can create a whole new path toward connection and healing.
So, to really get inside this experience, the author gives us this incredibly powerful analogy. Just try to imagine being on a constant, unending psychedelic trip that you never, ever asked for. See, this isn't about being crazy. It's about your entire sensory world being fundamentally and persistently altered every single day.
And this right here is where we really need to shift our whole perspective. The book argues that psychosis isn't a break from reality. It's more like an immersion into multiple realities, all happening at once. So the person isn't just seeing things that aren't there. They're navigating a world where a spiritual or a symbolic reality feels way more urgent and frankly more important than the consensus reality the rest of us share. So you might be wondering, how is this alternate reality even constructed? Well, it's not random, not at all. It has its own internal logic, and it's built on a few key experiences that completely change the rules of the world. Okay, so it starts with something really fundamental. We all learn as babies that when mom leaves the room, she still exists, right? Well, during psychosis, that certainty just dissolves. People and things can literally appear and disappear for what feel like mystical reasons, making the world feel like this flowing, magical place where anything can happen at any moment. Now, you can probably see how this starts to build. When the physical world no longer feels solid and permanent, it just swings the door wide open for a powerful belief in synchronicity. Coincidences are no longer just coincidences. They are signs. They're messages. A random song on the radio, a chance meeting with a friend. These events are seen as absolute proof that one's thoughts are directly and magically connected to the entire universe. Now, here's what's so fascinating. This worldview gets powerfully reinforced. During psychosis, people often have these genuinely accurate intuitions, predicting an accident, knowing something right before it happens. And these moments, they feel like absolute, undeniable proof that their altered perceptions aren't just real, but that they're a source of some kind of profound knowledge. So, when you put it all together, a fluid world, thoughts that can shape reality, and proof of special insight, what's the logical conclusion? Well, you start to believe you are on a spiritual or a magical quest. You're not just living your life, you have a mission, a purpose, to bring about heaven on earth, or maybe to prevent some kind of global catastrophe. Understanding this inner logic is one thing, but how do we actually use it to connect with someone who's on this deeply personal quest? Well, the book offers a really clear and compassionate strategy for that. The first step the book suggests is to manage the environment. Greek describes people with schizophrenia as emotional sponges. They're just profoundly affected by the feelings happening all around them. So creating a calm, positive space, one that's free of stressful news, that's full of nature and art and happy memories, that isn't just a nice idea. It's actually a primary tool for lowering anxiety and building a sense of safety. And this leads to a pretty radical shift in communication. The idea is to completely stop arguing about whether a delusion is real and instead to listen for what the book calls the good seed, the valid, legitimate concern that's hiding at its core. If someone is trying to magically stop global warming, the good seed there is a genuine concern for the planet. Acknowledging that concern, that's the first real step to building an alliance. Okay, so with that foundation in place, the book proposes this really practical, team-based approach. It basically splits the work of support into two distinct and equally vital roles. And here's how that dynamic works. On one side, you have the mentor. This person is the trusted ally. Their job is just to listen without judgment, to understand the person's reality, and to build that bridge of trust. Then you have the realist, who focuses on the practical world, medication, appointments, and getting your life to work. This way, you can offer deep empathy while still pushing for the treatment that's really necessary. So what happens once that trust is finally established? How does the person begin to navigate back to a shared reality and start building a real path toward recovery? A key tool here is the set of rules for reality checking. It's a practical framework that the person learns to use. And it's not about denying their experiences, but about developing a method for sorting their personal reality from consensus reality. For example, if a radio suddenly turns on by itself, the rule is to actually go over and check if it's really on. It's a way to regain a solid foothold in the shared world. But, and this is so important, the book stresses that this isn't just about managing symptoms. The real work of recovery is deep counseling to understand the meaning behind all these experiences, to heal the underlying trauma and inner conflicts that may have fueled the psychosis in the first place. The goal is to find inner peace, turning what was a harrowing journey into a source of profound self-knowledge. And that leaves us with this final thought. Milt Creek's blueprint really reframes recovery not as a battle against delusion, but as an act of connection. It asks us to see the rational core that's inside the psychosis, to become an ally in their quest, and to gently help build a bridge back to a world that we can all share.